What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Story Dose. Today we're taking a little bit of a different direction, and we are reading something that's non-fiction, but still story related. Story with Robert McKee. This book is considered widely the number one resource for becoming a good storyteller, whether it's as an author or whether it's as a writer. Another great book is On Writing by Stephen King, and another one is the Anatomy of Story by John Truby. We'll get to both of those eventually on Story Dose, but for right now, I want to talk about something that Robert McKee has to say about the decline of story. And really the reason why I founded Forerunner Productions, the reason why I'm doing this show, the reason why I'm doing the Chad Garrett show, and all of these things, why we're trying to break into the Hollywood sphere and honestly rebuild Hollywood kind of out here on the East Coast. We'll see what happens with that. But without further ado, I want to start with the first chapter of Robert McKee's story, The Story Problem, starting with the subtitle, The Decline of Story. Imagine in one global day, the pages of prose turned, plays performed, films screened, an unending stream of television comedy and drama, 24-hour print and broadcast news, bedtime tales told to children, ballroom bragging, back fence internet gossip, humankind's insatiable appetite for stories. Story is not only our most prolific art form, but rivals all activities, work, play, eating, exercise, for our waking hours. We tell and take in stories as much as we sleep, and even then we dream. Why? Why is so much of our life spent inside stories? Because, as critic Kenneth Burke tells us, stories are equipment for a living. Day after day, we seek an answer to the ageless question of Aristotle posed in Ethics, talking about Nicomachean ethics there. How should a human being lead his life? But the answer eludes us, hiding behind a blur of racing hours as we struggle to fit our means to our dreams, fuse idea with passion, turn desire into reality. We're swept along on a risk-ridden shuttle through time. If we pull back to grasp pattern and meaning, life, like a gestalt does flips. I'll be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what a gestalt is, but we're going to go with it. First serious, then comic, static, frantic, meaningless, meaningful. Momentous world events are beyond our control, while personal events, despite all effort to keep our hands on the wheel, more often than not control us. Traditional humankind has sought the answer to Aristotle's question from the four wisdoms, philosophy, science, religion, and art, taking insight from each to bolt together a livable meaning. But today, who reads Hegel or Kant without an exam to pass? Science, once the great explicitor, garbles life with complexity and perplexity. Who can listen without cynicism to economists, sociologists, politicians? Religion for many has become an empty ritual that masks hypocrisy. As our faith in traditional ideologies diminishes, we turn to the source we still believe in, the art of story. The world now consumes films, novels, theater, and television in such quantities and with such ravenous hunger that the story arts have become humanity's prime source of inspiration. As it seeks to order chaos and gain insight into life, our appetite for story is a reflection of the profound human need to grasp the patterns of living, not merely as an intellectual exercise, but within a very personal, emotional experience. In the words of playwright Jean Annelin, fiction gives life its form. Some see this craving for story as simple entertainment, an escape from life rather than exploration of it. But what, after all, is entertainment? To be entertained is to be immersed in the ceremony of story to an intellectually and emotionally satisfying end. To the film audience, entertainment is the ritual of sitting in the dark, concentrating on a screen in order to experience the story's meaning and, with that insight, the arousal of strong and at times even painful emotions. And as the meaning deepens, to be carried to the ultimate satisfaction of those emotions. I'm going to move on a little bit here. Flawed and false storytelling is forced to substitute spectacle for substance, trickery for truth. Weak stories, desperate to hold audience attention, degenerate into multi-million-dollar razzle-dazzle demo reels. In Hollywood, imagery becomes more and more extravagant. In Europe, more and more decorative. The behavior of actors becomes more and more histrionic, more and more lewd, more and more violent. I kind of like the violence. Music and sound effects become increasingly tumultuous. The total effect transcends into the grotesque. A culture cannot evolve without honest, powerful storytelling. When society repeatedly experiences glossy, hollowed-out pseudo-stories, it degenerates. We need true satires and tragedies, dramas and comedies that shine a clean light into the dingy corners of the human psyche and society. If not, as Yeats warns us, the center cannot hold. I truly believe in what he says there when he says a culture cannot evolve without honest, powerful storytelling. When society repeatedly experiences glossy, hollowed-out pseudo-stories, it degenerates. This is why we got into story. This is why Forerunner Productions exists, and why one day, eventually, down the road, we will be in the business, not just of like publishing books and telling our stories that way, but making movies and making TV shows and all of these things. But until then, we are going to focus on sharing with you the stories that matter by injecting them into your life weekly here on Story Dose and over at the Chad Garrett Show. Be sure to also check out The Shelter Hole, one of our Forerunner Productions podcasts, and Impetus Minds of the Driven and The West Meadow Show over on the Forerunner Productions YouTube page or the Forerunner Productions podcast channel, wherever you get your podcasts. See you next week on Story Dose.